Hello and welcome to our Betfred Sports Talk here at the Quest Media Network Studios. I'm Lewis and I'm joined by Peter Spencer from Betfred. How are you doing today, Peter?
Yeah, great. Thanks very much.
Well, there really is only one place to start. I can't quite believe I'm saying this, but City have wrapped up the treble. They've done it in fine fashion with Rodri's late second half strike.
Yeah, I won't say it was fine fashion. I mean, it was a very, very disappointing final. I mean, people were like bored rigid the way they were. They cancelled each other out, and the way that Inter Milan got at City's ball-playing midfielders was pretty phenomenal, really. There's a lesson there to be learned by all teams in the Premier League next season, because that is the way to beat City, and they didn't really um, combat that for certainly the first half. And people were thinking, oh, they'll wear out eventually. But they didn't. They kept at it and at it and at it. And they were so unlucky not to get an equaliser in the last few seconds of that game, with Lukaku in particular making a significant difference in that team. These are things that Guardiola, as the magician and the fantastic tactical nous that he has, will have identified. He'll see that they did the homework and thought, right, we'll attack the midfield, we'll stop them playing through the middle, which City are so adept at. And then they brought on Lukaku, who made a significant difference, going straight at the City centre halves, and almost snatched an equaliser. But congratulations to Manchester City, they have done the treble. I'm not sure it's a historic treble because Manchester United did it first in 1999, but even so, it is a tremendous achievement and well done to them. Betfred have the odds for next season's Champions League, and surprise, surprise, their City is the favourites again. So Guardiola has said he wants more. The players have been saying they've got to build a legacy now. I go back to the fact that they could do with more homegrown players in that team to really make everybody love Manchester City. They couldn't find a place for Phil Foden to start that game. What a difference he made when he came on. There's a lesson for Guardiola. Why not start with Phil Foden? He is an half-decent player. He would get in any other team in the whole world, never mind this country. Why didn't he start him? I mean, and that decision about not starting with Walker was also odd. You wonder what was going on in his mind there, because that could have come from behind it and bitten him on the you know what. Because these are class acts. You really should have started that game. So Betfred have City as a 2-1 favourites to go on and win the Champions League again next season. Bayern Munich the second favourite, 7-1. I know all you Reds out there are wondering what United's odds are. Well, they're 16-1 to win the Champions League in 2024. Newcastle, they're 22-1 to go and win it for the first time in their history with all the resources they've got. Arsenal, they're 14-1. Real Madrid are in there as well at 10-1. PSG 9-1. But City are the favourites with Betfred to win the Champions League next season.
And in many ways, it was almost a perfect performance from Inter Milan, like you say, with sort of pressing in the midfield, the way the goalkeeper was popping it about, and the way that the two strikers sort of stayed up and held the ball up well. What if Lukaku would have had his shooting boots on? I think it could have been a different story.
Yeah, but you've got to give credit to Ederson as well. Yeah, he was probably the man of the match, and that's saying something. I bet he doesn't get a man of the match that often for Manchester City. He had a tremendous game, absolutely fantastic. He made one mistake, I think it was in the first half when he didn't clear it particularly well, or very well at all. But apart from that, it was a supreme performance, and he deserves a lot of credit. He came in there, remember, and in place of Joe Hart when he decided that Joe Hart wasn't the sort of goalkeeper he wants. They wanted a more modern goalkeeper, one who's able and perfectly capable of playing it out from the back. And that is the modern thinking. I know that in the academy football in this country now, they make the goalkeepers train with the outfield players, because they've got to be just as good at dribbling the ball from the back or playing it out from the back, like a centre half, an additional centre half, as the rest of the team. So you can see why that, for instance, Manchester United, there's an argument why United have been linked with Pickford, because he is a more modern goalkeeper.
I think that's the way it's going. Like you say, he's won the the Golden Glove this year, and that's still not enough because you've got to be adept with your feet as well.
Yeah, you can tell the way that Ten Hag wants Manchester United to perform next season, and he's already indicated that De Gea isn't going to necessarily play as many games, and he is on the lookout for a goalkeeper. So really, Pickford, he's probably such a good goalkeeper. He had plenty of practice at Everton,
Yeah.
and that is the difference between a player such as him in goals. They do need to play for not the greatest teams. So it would be quite a change for him to go to Manchester United, where he wouldn't necessarily get as much action, but it probably does seriously give him chances of retaining that England #1 position a boost if he plays for Manchester United.
Well, moving on to the Betfred Super League now. It was quite an exciting weekend. Wolves defeating Giants in what was a great game, very close game in the end. But they're still second after Catalans also won and they stayed top.
Yeah, Catalans are probably the form team at the moment. They've scored the same number of points as Warrington, and they are now, as you say, maintain their position as top of the table. Catalans on 22 points with the Betfred Super League table. Warrington also 22, but with goal differences not as good. You've got to keep your eyes on St Helens though. They're only 4 points behind with that game in hand. And the top 6 are separated by 4 points, so it's looking like a very exciting second half of the season now. St Helens, they beat Wigan Warriors, the great rivals. That was a tremendous game. I was at that game, and you can see how St Helens are really coming into form at the right time. Jack Wellsby in particular doing supremely well, and he's right up there as a candidate for the next Man of Steel. He got 2 tries in that game. He's been linked with a move to Australia, but he's settled it down now, and he's doing the simple things well. He's not trying to be over elaborate, and he's making a significant difference in the St Helens team. So the latest odds we've got for the Super League outright, Betfred have Saints as 7-4 favourites, so the odds on them retaining the title have tightened in there, have shortened significantly. Wigan, they're 7-2, Warrington 4-1, Catalans 11-2. That's probably where the value is with Catalans 11-2, because they are in form at the moment. League, they continue to impress. I think they've gone 4th now in the table. No, 3rd. Lee are 3rd in the table. They are 14-1 to win the Betfred Super League outright. And Salford, well, they're 4th. They're 14-1, the same price. They are becoming very much a surprise package this season, getting form at the right time. So it is looking good for all the teams on this side of the Pennines. That's Saints, Wigan, Warrington, Lee, and Salford are all dominating. The only other team is Catalans, who arguably are not quite this side of the Pennines. Not very fans. Well, they've been all the Yorkshire teams anyway.
Yeah. And moving on to the Betfred Challenge Cup, that's of course taking place this weekend. That's at the quarter-final stage.
Yeah, it is. It is a similar sort of prices here, or the order of the prices of the odds. We've got Saints 5-2 to go and win the Challenge Cup outright. These finals at Wembley, of course, in August. Wigan are 10-3, Warrington 4-1. The only team that isn't in the Super League is York. They're from the Championship. They're playing against Lee, and they're the huge outsiders. They're priced at 250-1 to win the Challenge Cup. Salford 10-1. The semi-final lineup is we've got on Saturday Hull FC against Saints. That's on BBC One. Hull KR against Salford. That's later. That's the early kickoff. That's at noon. And then on Sunday, the big one, Wigan against Warrington, followed by what people think will be a bit of a walkover, York Knights against Lee Leopards.
And of course on Friday night, Malta are playing. Well, England are playing Malta in the Euro 2024 qualifiers, and that should be a walk in the park for them.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to have a little degree of sympathy of being professional football. We all thought it was all over for a little while, but it's not really, because the better players are going to be playing for England in Malta, and it'll be hot there, I guess. So Malta are 28-1 to go and get the win there on home territory with Betfred. England 1-33. So we're right up there amongst the favourites for the Euro 2024, along with the other giants such as Germany, Italy, and France, of course. They're the absolute favourites. So England are second favourites to go and win the Euro 2024.
Thank you, Peter, as always, for joining us. And if you do fancy a bet, you can bet online, on the app, or in Betfred stores.